So, ecology, a study of living organisms and their environment. And an ecosystem is in the interaction of all these plants and animals. In the ecosystem, there's a habitat, which is where the organisms live, and a niche is its specific place. Adaptations are the characteristics organisms have to survive and reproduce. And here's an example. Frog in my garden pond there, looking very excited that I was taking his photo. So his habitat's the water, his niche is the shady edges, he eats insects, and the adaptations are many, but of course he's got webbed feet and waterproof skin. And he breathes air because he's a frog, and he can live on land as well. So one of the research tasks you've got is to find out what other habitats and niches frogs occupy and how they are adapted differently for each of those different environments. So here we've got a bit more detail of a pond ecosystem, and you can see at the top I've put here lots of different niches present. So let's just look at a few of these. We've got, for example, we've got the open water. Now the open water, we know what that is, a habitat for fish, for example, whereas other fish down here, they occupy a different niche because these are bottom feeding fish and they eat the detritus, the dead organic matter. So that's another niche. Then we've got bacteria. They're living in the mud, another niche. We've got, for example, over here, we've got some plants that are rooted in the shallow waters at the side. They can survive there. These plants, though, are submerged. And these submerged plants, they're going to be food for snails and other herbivorous animals like that. So that's another niche. And whereas here we've got our floating plants, which are able to survive. Look, their roots are in the water. That's another niche again. Not forgetting animals on the surface of the water, we have things like pond skaters or other surface dwellers, other organisms that use that as their particular niche. Now, of course, in addition to those sorts of things, then what we've also got to think about is other aspects of this, which you can see here. So we've got in terms here, we've got populations. Now, populations are groups of organisms of the same species that are living in the area. So a population of snails, we're looking at these snails here, which you can't really see very clearly. We can't identify the species in this diagram, but they are all the same. So we talk about the population of a particular species of snail. We talk about the population of a species of beetle, a species of fish, another species of fish down there. So lots of different populations, and these populations together make up the community within this pond. So we've got to consider everything that lives there for that. So we have got our primary producers, which you'll remember are the plants, all different types of plants in different places. We've got the primary consumers. We'll talk more about that later, but these are the things that eat the plants, so the snails mainly, and some of the fish. Then we've got our secondary and tertiary consumers. Beetles and fish are decomposers, our bacteria and our fungi. So that's our community. So populations, communities, and you'll also notice other features here. We've mentioning abiotic factors, things that are not biological. And you can see the list: temperature of the water or the air, oxygen content of the water, mineral content of the water, and so on. Amount of light, amount of rainfall, what's the humidity around the pond. Then here we've got biotic. Biotic factors are living factors, things that affect living things. So we'll talk more about that in a later video. So let's just have a look at some of these definitions again, just to recap. Now, what we've got to think about is what is ecology to start with. So it's the study of how organisms relate to their environment. An ecosystem is defined really, now with a bit more detail, as the interaction of a community of living organisms with a non-living part of their environment. And so ecosystems can be small. They can be as small as a puddle. They can be a tree, a playing field, a rainforest, an ocean. They can be natural or artificial. Like your aquarium you might have, that's artificial. And then in every ecosystem there are different living organisms. So biodiversity is the range of different plant and animal species living in an ecosystem. And the living organisms in that ecosystem are called producers, consumers, decomposers, and decomposers break down dead organisms. So last two, community and population. So the community are the populations of all the different species that are living together in the same place at the same time and interact with each other. Whereas the population is all the organisms of just one species that live in the same place at the same time and can breed together. And all these individuals in that population will have quite specific genetic and physiological adaptations to allow them to survive in that place. So here we've got another example of an ecosystem. It's just a bit of variety. It's another water one. It's a rock pool. But you can see there it's not all the same all the way around. So you can see some green. Now this is the seaweed. And then in here we've got some water. What we can't see though is all the organisms that are living inside it. But you will notice, of course, that this is very different in appearance to the rocks around the edges. And you can just about make out here, I think, if you look closely, that we can see some barnacles, which are animals that live on the rock surfaces. Then this is another example. It's a large tree. Now you may not often think of a tree as an ecosystem, but it is because it's got the leaves, insects eat the leaves, birds can have their nests in there, they're occupying a different niche, there'll be insects in there, there'll be herbivores nibbling away at the leaves, and all sorts of things like that. So an ecosystem can even be a single tree. So here we are, we have your task. What I want you to do is to look at this website. There's a link in the assignment. Watch the video and read those textbook pages there, which you can see are referenced below. It's a nice site. It's the California Academy of Sciences. There's loads and loads of information on it. And what we want you to do is detailed on the next slide that's coming up in the video. To look at one ecosystem that you find on that website. So really biodiverse one is best. So lots and lots of different species there. Probably rainforest or a coral reef, but you can choose what you like really. So I want you to draw a picture of your ecosystem, or you can print a picture. But basically, nice task really. What you're going to do around your picture is you're going to label it. You're going to talk in terms of the populations, the habitat, the community, the interdependence of the different organisms upon each other. So what eats what, if you like. Also abiotic factors, find out what they are. Also biotic factors, find out what they are. And basically produce a nice annotated diagram. And here's a reminder of an annotated diagram. So you get the idea. It's that sort of thing. So all the details of what you have to do for this, including the frog task on an earlier slide, are part of the assignment. So I hope this was helpful. Hi everyone, hope you're all okay.